Humming softly to myself, I lock up the front door of the boutique and turn off the lights. It's been a long day, and while I was lucky enough to book in a couple of new clients earlier, I'm exhausted and in desperate need of food. I head to the back of the store, making my way towards my apartment to get a start on dinner. But before I've made it to the stairs, a noise stops me. Squinting my eyes in concentration, I tilt my head and listen harder. It sounds like someone's in the basement. Deciding to check it out, I quietly follow the shuffling sounds and head down the stairs to the basement, keeping my steps light. It's most likely just Gray, setting up for his game night, but he usually stops in to say hi when he arrives, and so far I hadn't seen him. It occurs to me at the last moment that it might be an intruder, and coming down here wasn't the best idea in the world. But I've come too far to go back now. The door to the basement is open when I approach, and I slip through to find my first guess to be correct. I find only Gray in the basement. He stands with his back to me, his head bowed in concentration as he looks down at whatever is in his hands. "Hey," I say quietly, and his head snaps up and as he turns, quickly hiding the item behind his back. I narrow my eyes, looking at him suspiciously. Something weird is going on here. "What's that?" "Nothing." I raise an eyebrow at his tone, and the way his eyes shift to the side, he swallows guiltily, and I can see that he's been caught off guard. Taking small steps towards him, I try to school my face into a look of annoyance, but he doesn't buy it. "Show me," I say. His eyes narrow into slits, lips bursting as he shifts on his feet and slowly backs up further. I dart out, trying to reach around him, but he steps to the side, grinning as he blocks my attempt. He backs up into the table, and with nowhere left to go, I lunge again and successfully snatch the item from his hands. "Hazel, wait." And when I hold it in front of him, Ami, my heart almost stops. It's a photo of me, to be exact, back when I was still in school. I look almost unrecognizable in it, having experimented with different hair dye back in the day, but the biggest difference was in my face. I look so young in the picture, and if I didn't know who the girl was, I would even say innocent. Surely, someone who didn't know would never guess that she was the leader of our own gang. "Where did you get this?" I ask, giving him a hard look, wondering if he recognizes young me. He holds his hands up in front of him defensively before nodding towards a small box on the table behind him. "That came in today," Gray explains. He moves aside when I step up to inspect it, glancing at the shipping label and seeing my name in big bold letters. I suck in a breath, but before I can lose my head completely, Gray cuts in quickly. Before you flip out, it was an accident. My focus snaps back to him and my skin goes warm. You accidentally went through my stuff? Yes, no. He laughs nervously, running a hand through his hair. I didn't know it was yours. My name is on the label. That's illegal. He rubs at the back of his neck, biting down on his bottom lip guiltily. I didn't exactly read it. I was waiting on a delivery, and I just assumed that this was it. I brushed past him and snatched the open package from the table, all while giving him a withering glare. Like I said, it was an accident, trust me. I wouldn't have opened it if I had known. I let out a hump as I glanced inside the box, finding a myriad of old things my parents had obviously cleaned out from my childhood room. My favorite soft toy, some notebooks filled with scribbles, some random trinkets, and then my heart lurches in my chest when I see what's sitting on the top of the pile. More photos, including one of Sarah, Nikki, and I with the entire gang. I whip my head towards Gray, gauging his reaction. Has he seen the pictures? Does he recognize them as the rival gang that beat up his friends all those years ago? Gray simply shoves his hands in his pockets, giving me an inquisitive look. It doesn't seem like he saw. Releasing a breath of relief, I close the top of the box and hug it to myself protectively. So, he says slowly, do you have a twin sister? I gave him a confused look, shaking my head. Huh? No, I'm an only child. But you went to Clanner Academy? Gray circles me and I tense, trying to play the question off as being no big deal. Crap, I guess he did see something in there to know I went to school there. Yeah, I confess. He makes a small sound, coming up to stand directly behind me, his breath tickling my hair. They had some pretty tough gang leaders during the time you would have been there. Were you close to any of them? I freeze like a deer in headlights. That's a loaded question. The wrong answer could get me in trouble. I prioritized my own safety over hanging out with them, I say softly, knowing this is true yet doesn't quite answer his question. Although I had started off enjoying playing the role of the leader, it was a thought that now turned my stomach. I had to get out of there before what happened to Sarah happened to the rest of us. With all three leaders out of the picture, there was a good chance no one else would get hurt. Bruises and broken noses were one thing, but when knives started surfacing, your safety, huh? Gray asks, raising an inquisitive eyebrow. Yeah, I nod. Way too risky. And what was it that you were scared of exactly? My chest rises and falls with quick, shallow breaths. I grasp the box tighter and try to keep myself steady. Getting hurt. Gray's brow creases as he considers my words. In general, Or did something in particular freak you out? He questions. Why do you want to know? I ask, shifting uncomfortably. I'm curious, that's all, he says as he backs off. I saw the gangs around quite a lot back in the day. Well, the less I had to interact with them, the better, I declare with finality, and then attempt to sway the subject. But I heard that you, the couple students, had a lot of fights with them back then. He stops and gives me a strange look, and then he clears his throat, his jaw going tense. I never told you I went to Takapo High. My breath sticks in my throat as I hold his gaze, shrugging my shoulders and flicking my hair to appear innocent. Well, I never saw you around Clanner Academy, so Takapo is my next best guess. It's a big school, and you seem to always surround yourself with people. He scoffs a little, crossing his arms over his chest and giving me a cynical look. What's that supposed to mean? Never mind, I shake my head, turning to leave. A hand on my arm stops me before I can go, and I turn to find Gray's bright eyes fixed on mine intently. Come on, I want to know what you really think of me. I let out a soft sigh. You want to know what I think of you? I step up to him, holding his gaze. I think you're like a wolf, Gray Jansen. You hunt in packs because you feel safer that way, and maybe you are. But because of that, no one gets to know you, not really. Anyway, he raises his eyebrows and I bite down on my tongue, having already said too much. Clutching the box safely under my arm, I almost turned to leave before remembering what I had come down here for in the first place. Would you mind keeping it down tonight? It's been a long day and you and your pack have been pretty noisy lately. He leans back against the table, staring at me in contemplation. Sure, no problem. I squint at him, wondering why that was so easy. Usually he asks some witty, albeit smart-ass remark waiting in the bank for me. Thanks, I say slowly, deciding I should take it for what it's worth and get the hell out of here. Hey, Hazel? I pause in the doorway, turning back to find Gray still looking at me, his lips tilting into that familiar crooked grin. I think red hair suits you better. My stomach lurches, and for a moment I feel like I'm going to be sick. I don't say another word. Instead, I dash away before my face can betray my emotions and give everything away. The box needs to be put somewhere safe, away from prying eyes. That was a close call. After dinner, I shower and slip into bed, desperately in need of an early night. I can't stop thinking back on the conversation with Gray earlier. It had been such a close call with him seeing those photos. At least now no one will be unknowingly going through them now that the box is safe with me. Still, there's always a possibility he could bring it up later and all hell would break loose. The new life I've been trying so hard to keep up could come crashing down onto me. With a sigh, I pull my covers up higher and curl up on my side, trying to relax and get some much needed sleep. I've almost drifted off completely when a series of muffled shouts startle me, followed by the sound of booming music. Picking up my phone off the nightstand, I glance at the time, 11 o'clock. With an exasperated puff of air, I reach for my phone to type a message to Gray. Can you please keep it down? I'm trying to sleep and have work tomorrow. I groan and plant my face against the pillow, waiting for Gray to check his phone and turn the volume down. Hadn't we already gone over this earlier? The sounds of music and voices continue to drift off through the thin floors of the apartment, and I grit my teeth in annoyance, trying to ignore it. First he goes through my mail, and now he thinks he and his friends can blast their music and keep me awake all night. The nerve of this guy. Grabbing my pillow, I shove it over my head to block out the noise, but to no avail. Wait a second, did the music just get louder? That's it, I've had enough. With a low growl, I rip back the covers and storm out of my apartment, heading downstairs to the basement. My anger grows. The closer I get towards the noise, realizing exactly how loud it is. It'd be a miracle if none of my neighbors show up to complain. Raising a fist to the wooden door, I knock loudly, though I'd be surprised if anyone could hear me over the racket. I knock again, louder this time, but still nothing. With an exasperated sigh, I push the door. The whole place stinks of smoke, and I scan the room, looking for the cause of all the trouble. And then my eyes land on another familiar face, and my stomach tightens uncomfortably as he comes towards me. It's the creep who came into the boutique the first day Sarah and I were setting everything up. What's this? He asked with a smile, peering down at me. I suddenly feel uncomfortable wearing only pajamas. How about you come in, stay for a while? Leave her alone, Novak. A familiar voice drifts over and Gray steps forward, nudging the man aside. Wait, what did he just say? Gray's eyes land on me, his face twisted in annoyance. I try to keep myself calm, but the realization of exactly who is standing at his side has shaken me to the core. Even Novak, the hammer. That's why he had seemed so familiar. He's the bastard that cut Sarah 10 years ago. I feel my blood run cold at the sight of him in my own building. What are you doing here? I asked if you could keep the noise down. I gather my wits and say bluntly. Gray's eyes drift downwards, skimming over my attire. In doing so, I currently find myself standing in front of an entire pack of guys in a cropped camisole and lace pajama shorts. Let's talk outside, Gray says hurriedly as he ushers me through the door, ignoring the wolf whistle that pierces the air behind us. He closes the door and I back away from him. Putting some distance between us, he raises an eyebrow. Was that even Novak? I question him. You know him? I bowed, I, I bite down on my lip, wondering how to phrase this. I just know he was a bad guy. I tell him. Well, don't worry. We can keep him in check. But I'm sure that's not why you came down just now, dressed in... He glances over at my attire. That, he says with a slight smile. What's wrong? I can't sleep with this noise, I explain. Can you keep it down? I ask, thoroughly exasperated that I had to come down here in the first place. Gray breathes out a laugh. Folding his arms in front of him stubbornly. The thing is, I don't take orders from you. I take another step back, staring up at him in disbelief. I don't understand why he's acting this way when all I've done is ask him to keep it down. You don't get to tell me what to do in my own space, he continues. I pay rent for this basement, fair and square. Why are you being so difficult? I ask, throwing my hands up in front of me. Me? He steps closer, putting a hand on his chest before pointing in my face. You're the one who came stomping down here with your big girl pants on, interfering in my business. I sweat his hand away, though that doesn't stop him from going to town on me. You sure like bossing people around, don't you? Might have made a pretty good gang member back in the day, after all. What? My mouth drops open as I stare at him. Why would he say something like that? Can you just keep the noise down? I say, growing tired of the argument. Please. No, I don't think I will. With a shit-eating grin, he walks off, taking the stairs two at a time as he heads back down to the basement. I'm quite frankly perplexed at his response. No? He said no. And then the howling begins once more, shouting like a pack of goddamn animals. I had called him a wolf, and this is how he chooses to repay me for it. My blood boils in my veins at how casually he dismissed my request. He may rent the basement, but this is my building. I'm the one who put my blood, sweat, and tears into making this place what it is. The least I deserve is to be able to get a good night's sleep in my own house. This is war, agreed Jansen. You don't get to mess with me. Dashing back up to my apartment, I grab the keys for the breaker box and then return to the hallway. Using my phone as a light, I unlock the cover and pull it open, scanning the line of switches for the one with a small label next to it reading basement. With no hesitation, I pull the switch down. In an instant, the booming sound of music disappears, replaced instead by a few alarmed shouts and voices. I quickly lock the box and lean back on the wall next to it, crossing my arms. Now all I have to do is wait. Barely a minute passes before I hear the basement door being thrown open and the sound of angry footsteps flying up the staircase towards me. My heart hammers in my chest, adrenaline pumping through me as Gray rounds the corner, primed for murder. He is definitely pissed. He charges towards me, reaching for the keys before I snap them back just in time. Turn it back on, he demands with an irritable expression. No, I won't, I say firmly. I already tried asking you to keep the noise down, but you don't listen. Give me the keys, Hazel, he growls at me, his breath heavy from just having sprinted up the stairs. I maintain a firm stance, tightening my grip on the keys. He takes in a breath to calm himself, but by the way his nostrils flare, he's positively livid. We were in the middle of an important game. I need the electricity on, he says. He says through gritted teeth, as though it's paining him to be civil right now. Let's think about it. Let's think about this first, I say, still refusing to give him what he wants. What are you gonna do for me? What do you want? What? Sorry. What do you want? He asks, his eyes hard. I take a deep breath. First, I want an apology for you being a dick. Just now, when I ask you to keep it down, I start the list. Gray's mouth pulls into a thin line. He then sighs. Fine, it was a dick move. I apologize. Can you turn it back on, please? Tell you what, I'll turn the power back on. However, if I hear one single howl out of any of you, it won't be back on again until morning, I threaten. His jaw tenses, and with no further cards to play, he has no choice but to give in and finally keep the noise down. All right, he bites out. Then he storms his way back downstairs. I open the box again and flick the switch back up, seeing the glow of light spilling out from beneath the basement door. Hopefully, he learned his lesson from that. I dash back to my bed and crawl under the covers, but I know I'm not going to be able to sleep straight away. I need to text Sarah and tell her what happened. Hey, are you awake? Barely, what's up? You'll never believe what just happened. Gray was playing music way too loud and refuses to turn it down, so I had to shut down his power to get him to listen. No way, look at you, badass. You've still got it. Guess I do. Also, even Novak seems to be one of his players. Wait, what? I don't know either, but it's super weird. The last thing I want is to make you more uncomfortable. Oh hell no. I don't back down. I'm not scared of him. In fact, I should sleep over tomorrow night. Can't have two dicks hanging around you without protection. I couldn't stop you even if I wanted to. I put my phone back on my nightstand, happy that Sarah will be staying over tomorrow. We'll be prepared for if things turned out like tonight. pour over my workbench, cutting a strip of green velvet fabric from its roll and setting down the scissors. After I had agreed to Nikki's proposal about making the costumes for the Clanner Academy play, he had sent through a list of what was required. It had been strange talking with it had been strange talking with Nikki again after so long. I've changed so much from what I used to be almost 10 years ago. I have to keep reminding myself that this is only a job. It's not like I'm required to suddenly be friends with him again after all this time. I'm not sure I even know how to. I glanced at the list once more, making a note in my workbook of the outfits that are required for the various characters. Romeo and Juliet is a classic, and more than suitable for an Academy production. Nikki had assured me that the costumes for the minor roles had already been taken care of, but they still needed brand new outfits for the main characters, including the star-crossed lovers themselves. The costumes called for medieval gowns, doublets, and breeches. I was going to have my work cut out for me, but the payoff would be worth it. Being able to show off my design skills in the play is a sure way to gain interest in my work, and if all goes as planned, the bookings will follow from there. Snagging the mommy crowd is nothing short of striking a gold mine. When I hear the back door of the shop open, I don't look up. I already know who it is. I can tell as much from the scent of the cologne that drifts toward me. Hey, can we talk? Great comes up beside me, just as I fold up the fabric and cut a length of gold trim to accentuate the gown I'm working on. I'm not in the mood to talk, but I force myself to look up at him anyway. You're still mad, huh? He asks with a sigh. What do you think, Gray? I cross my arms, trying not to let my temper get the better of me. I won't just fall on my knees to thank you for trying to keep me up half the night, especially when I have a ton of work to get through today. I barely kept you up. His mouth curves into a playful grin. I could do so much worse than that. I purse my lips through, though he simply chuckles. Look, I'm sorry about last night. I was a jerk. How about you let me take you out for dinner to apologize? I think you're kinda missing the point, I sigh, turning back to my work. Taking me out to dinner isn't really going to solve much. Gray leans back against my workbench and looks down at me. I get the impression that was exactly the answer he had been expected. I was impressed by your little stunt last night. Didn't think you had it in you. There wasn't much else I could have done, I say, trying to keep the focus on work. I pull out a cream satin, struggling with the weight of it, until Gray takes it from my arms and sets it on the workbench. When I turn back to face him again, it's to find that crooked grin of his crooked grin of his tilting his lips. What is it? I give him a quizzical look. I'm beginning to realize the sorts of things you're capable of, he says, and though I can't tell why, his voice seems hard. We lock eyes, confusion running through me at the sight of his glacial stare. And then all of a sudden it's gone, as though it had never been there at all. Come to dinner with me, he says again, softer this time. He bends his head towards me, his blonde hair falling into his bright eyes as he does so. We can talk more. You wanted to get to know me better, didn't you? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted, but I don't know how too close and personal I should get to the former phantom. Especially when he just pissed me off. I'm a bit too busy for that right now, I say, turning back to my work and hoping he takes the hint. Sadly, he doesn't move an inch. What can I do to make you change your mind? How about letting me get back to work, for starters? He looks visibly taken aback by that, but I don't give in. You know what? Fine. If you won't even let me apologize, then I'm not going to force you to hear it. He storms off, the sound of the back door slamming shut behind him. I bite my lip, trying to focus on the fabric in front of me, but I can't stop replaying the conversation in my head. He is cold one second, hot the next. I have no idea what he's thinking. Gray Jansen is a force of nature.